What do you say,
Ooh.
Tony?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. We're back for another show.
Yep. Let's see. Let me get my comment section up here and some buttons pushed up here. I see we got a few people in here already. Awesome.
We do. A lot of friendly faces, a lot of friends that tap that Sugar Shack, Peterson Farms.
Yep.
And my friend Vance Sisk was smart enough to say, let me get in on that tag early.
Oh, yeah.
Smart guy. So what have you been working on, man?
Well, I went out today at the farm and I just got an alert here. Let me turn that off because that's going to keep going.
What do you say, Bob Purrs? How are you, sir?
Hello, sir. I went out to the farm today and, out of all the things that's going on in the world right now with natural disasters, I did a review on a solar generator, and this is an all powers. And if you look up in the back of the side by side there, you'll see one that is it's probably about 2 years old. So another all powers, and I beat that thing to death. And so that's what I did today. I did a review on that. I think it's very relevant for homesteading and also for prepping and also for natural disasters, which is still prepping. But yeah, but that's kind of what I did today. What's going on in your world?
Handy, brother. I am. We had homecoming for the kids last week, and we've got some family stuff going on. Holly had to do some travel for work, so I haven't been able to play on the tractors, but that is coming up soon. Cooler weather's here. And speaking of tractors, why don't we go ahead and let's go ahead and play our reel for our sponsor, TYM. We're grateful for them to be a part of this channel and a part of both of our channels independently. But let's go ahead and give them a little bit of love, and then we'll come back and we'll check in a little bit more. How's that?
All right.
This interview is sponsored by TYM Tractors.
Have you always dreamed of owning and working your land? You need just the right tractor. The TYM line of tractors are the toughest and most versatile tractor for all your jobs. Drive your dream. Visit your TYM tractor dealer today. TYM Tractors. The stuff dreams are made of.
The stuff dreams are made of. How about that?
Listen, they've been a really cool sponsor for us. I'm telling you what.
Absolutely.
So we're going next week to the Equipment Expo in Louisville, Kentucky. And if you guys get a chance to go to that, that's a fun thing. It's not as populated as, say, the Farm Machinery Show. A little bit more.
And that is Farm Machinery Show is like church let out, man. That is.
Oh, it is. It really. That's perfect. That is literally the perfect Sunday afternoon at 12:07. I mean,
that's right. 12:07. That's right. Hands have been shaking. Time to get to open the floodgates. But
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I know Tony's going to be there. I'm going to try and be there too. And if you see one of us, make sure you come say hello. And do me a favor, when you say hello, say like, "Hey, this is Wade from Saving River Valley," not like, "Hey, it's Wade." Like, okay, cool, Wade.
Let's talk to Wade.
We go to school together. Oh, Wade's a good man.
Yeah, I had a good conversation. He called and checked on me. I'm still nursing that little back thing where I got a pinched nerve in my neck, and he calls on me about every 4 or 5 days to say, "You still alive? You still doing all right?" So he's a good man. He's a cool dude. Yeah, I see people putting the TYM hat, hashtag TYM hat. We're giving another TYM hat, only slightly used, only wore 4 times. I'm telling you, it's good. It's good in the quality. Good quality in the summer. Only in the summer 4 times.
Here, let me go ahead.
There's no buddy Kevin Fee.
Yep. I'm going to put no thanks TYM hat if it's used. There we go. No thanks TYM hat.
Listen.
Hey, Debbie. Debbie, I need some more hats.
There's my lovely sister.
Yep. Kevin Fee's in the house. Wayne Lee. Laura Rivera's here. Man, we've got all our buddies here. This is awesome.
We've got to do it next time. I made a mistake and deleted a picture. Now, the company that Wayne Lee works for is sponsoring they build houses for like first responders and soldiers that have had traumatic issues.
Yeah,
and I deleted the picture that was sent to me, and I was going to promote it tonight, and I feel horrible about it. So Wayne, I'm going to have to get that sent to me again, buddy. I'm so sorry, but I went back to my email over and over, and somehow I've deleted the email, and it went into the forever deleted email. I don't know what I did.
Oh,
either that or I archived it, and I'm just not smart enough to find it. But
brother, we've taught you how to push the live button, and you know what?
Well,
That's,
you know, the first time
that's
it
a
was
big
pretty
start.
rocky. It's pretty
That's a big start.
big
Well,
start.
thank you guys. Seriously, thank you all for coming back here for another week. This is like a campfire, sitting around a campfire, just talking with friends. So this is cool. Kevin, I don't know why it seems like we're zoomed in. Yeah, it does seem like maybe I just need to kind of lean back a little bit. Whoa. Hey, careful there. Hey, USA Proud. By the way, I said no thanks TYM hat because Tony said he was giving away a used one. No interest in a used hat.
Is that
There you
better?
go. That's better. Yeah, we're a little more less zoomed in now. Good call, Kevin.
Yeah.
So USA Proud, make sure you would do hashtag TYM hat. So
hashtag
anyway.
TYM hats. That's right.
Well, today we are going to talk a little bit about following from a conversation last week. I'll put the link up there, by the way, to that Amazon, because some of the things I had in the Amazon store we talked about. If you guys didn't watch that, I think that was a great show. Gosh, we went almost 2 hours talking about that, and there's no debate tonight.
It's so relevant right now.
I agree, man. And some of the stuff is just so helpful. And, there's a lot of folks, I don't want to seem like we're banging on North Carolina because that is not it. This is just an example, right? North Carolina, Tennessee has been affected by these storms. Florida is going to get hammered tomorrow. Y'all be praying for Florida.
I mean, Florida was hammered the first time. I mean, Helene, they were hammered. I think they've actually got kind of left out a little bit.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying, like, those folks who were there, imagine how handy it would be to just have like a tub somewhere with all those things in there. So yeah, Wade, you need a freeze dryer. They're phenomenal.
Yeah, we were talking about this today. He was asking me a question. I don't mean to talk about our private conversation, Wade, but I'm going to talk about our private conversation.
Is this
he asked me?
This is a family show, Tony.
It's a family show. He's like, hey, he goes, what do you think if someone is not ready to commit to the price of a freeze dryer yet? Should I get a really high end,
dehydrator?
I'm like, absolutely. Anything that you can do anything you can do to preserve food is a win. I mean, and just like those people up on the side of the hill right now in those mountains, and again, East Tennessee, North Georgia, North Carolina. I promise you, there's people right now wish they had some beef jerky.
I don't disagree with that. My thing about a dehydrator is that, and Wade, we're not here to talk about freeze dryers the whole time, but the freeze dryer, I spent some time this weekend. Holly was out of town, the kids are doing their thing, so I spent some time this weekend. I went to Sam's Club, spent about $150, and I'm telling you, I'm going to have some pictures on Instagram once it's done. But the freeze dryer is rolling right now with rice, grilled chicken, and this is rice I cooked, grilled chicken actually on my grill. Mm-hmm. I have hand cut carrots, peas, minced onion. I mean, it is not loaded with salt or preservatives or things that are, not good for you. And when I put this in the freeze dryer, it's 95% of the nutrition is still in that food. It's still fresh. It's still healthy. It's not going to be as good as if, you just made it fresh, but it's going to be really, really close. And you're not loading up on all that salt and all those preservatives and stuff. They're not good for you, man. Like, and
a reasonable amount of salt you got to have, but
you do, but dehydrators and jerky and stuff. I mean, I love beef jerky. I love that stuff. I just think that if you're really trying to put together, I can't believe
you're disrespecting Wade and I's jerky, man. I'm just telling you.
Well, you put you and Wade on the phone.
One line, didn't we?
Y'all got 3 teeth and 2 brain cells between the two of you.
I know that's right, and he's got all 3 of the brain cells.
No, I love you, brother.
All right, so we got
I love you too, Wade.
Off of that, and but I think it ties in today with what our subject matter is. So
yes, so we're going to talk today about like if you're new to homesteading, and a lot of us I think have land, but if you're new to homesteading, what is it that you want to look for in a property, and what are some upgrades or things that you can do to your property to make it more valuable, to make you more self-sufficient? This is not a doom and gloom conversation. This isn't like Bigfoot or the aliens are coming down there, to do something crazy. But if you need to shut your gate and take care of yourself for a while, and that land is going to take care of you, similar to how our ancestors did it, what do you look for in a piece of land? So, Tony, I'm going to throw that baton to you, and I'm going to say, with your experience and the things that you've done, the farm you bought and everything, what are some of the things that you love having on the land that you purposefully sought out, and what are some things that you maybe wish you had?
First off, I want to, before we move to that, I'm going to, Kevin, 40 days, no smoking. That's awesome.
Good job, Kevin.
Yeah, I expect a report next week.
Kevin, you've already won, buddy. If you've quit that, you're done. Like, just if you start getting weak, smack yourself upside the head.
Yeah, it's my habit was sugar, carbohydrates, just abundances of them. So I've kicked that. A couple guys put in there hashtag TYM. It's hashtag TYM hat. If you want the to win the hat, it's hashtag TYM hat. So just double check on it. But talking about land, so when we decided to do a homestead, there was honestly, I was fairly ignorant about the whole subject. I knew that I wanted to be somewhat prepared for any kind of incident. I wanted some land that could provide. I wanted it out of the way. I didn't want it around a lot of people, but I didn't want it to be so far away from town that it was too far away. That's I guess that's all the way based upon your own, your own what you think is too close. So my road right now, there's about 7 people that live on that road, which is perfect, and they're all really decent people. And the road to come to where our land's at, there's really no reason to come on that road unless you live there, because it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes to us, and that's it. So that's something that I looked at, and I had a viewer one day. I guess last week I was digging with the auger, and he goes, "It must be nice." Or he said, "You're so lucky to not have rocks." And I'm like, "It's not luck. It's a choice. We chose to live here." When I went to retire, we looked all over.
I love when people say "must be nice." That's my favorite. Must be. It is. It's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for noticing.
My favorite one is like, "Must be nice to be rich." I'm like, I started with $5 and worked my butt off. I mean, and we're not rich. We're just working real hard.
Our sins are paid for, brother. It's all that matters.
That's really what matters. But anyway, so that was one of the things we were looking for. And then obviously, the basics of survival, we talked about that last week, is you got to have food, water, shelter.
Right.
And a big thing is water on your land. Whether it be, in your case, you've got like a spring running through to a big pond, right? And then,
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, for me, like, water is my number one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without that, that is the quickest way people in a bad situation. That is the quickest way people get sick and get weak, is not having enough water. So definitely land with water, wildlife, soil that's good for growing, land that you can improve and make more valuable for not only the sake of money, but also for the sake of being useful in a, like a really tough time. Say, for example, power grid goes down for a week for whatever reason. So that's a lot. I got a whole list here, but I don't want to like go through the whole list right now.
Well, you say water, and I think water is really interesting because, it ties into our conversation last week, and that's not by accident, right? Last week we talked about this. Yeah, we talked about when I bought my farm. Holly and I bought it in 2017, and one of the number one things that drew me to that farm is we have multiple wells. So we have a well at the house, we have a well at the barn, and they're not sulfur wells. I mean, it's the one by the barn, you may get a hint of sulfur, but it doesn't get used nearly as often.
Well, sulfur won't kill you.
No, it's fine. I mean, and it'll filter out, and we have. I've done the math. It's basically 2 million gallons of water behind the cabin, and the thing that really gets you with that is it is spring fed. Now it's not a crazy spring, and you guys I've kind of shared with you the issues we had with the drain, which is all fixed now. I'm going to do a follow up on that here pretty soon.
Sure.
Just kind of showing how it's all fixed. And man, that cost me a fortune, but I won't have to do it again because there's no pipe to rust out, and the kind of the thing about that too is that having that water back there, we also have a lot of fish in there, which is food, right? It's healthy protein, as well as water you can bathe with or wash with. And then, if you have water on your property, that's something you also want to start thinking about filtration, right? Like we talked about filters last week. We didn't really talk about
lots of clean underwear and socks.
That's right. Which, you know what, if it's in a survival kind of situation, or you're taking care of yourself, clean socks and underwear go a long way.
Absolutely.
morale.
Sock, a clean pair of socks, pour the water through it, put it in a pan, boil it. You're good to go.
I was just thinking about putting them on your feet, but yeah, I mean that too. But let's wash them before we pour the water through the pan.
I did say clean socks. I'm saying,
But
yeah.
you bring up a really good point too when you say soil.
Oh yeah,
Did
absolutely.
did you do a soil test before you bought your place?
No, it's pretty common knowledge around here. You know, we're a very big farming community. Everybody understands that we've got pretty good soil.
Uh-oh. Internet access. Maybe we should talk about internet access on your property too. Kevin says sulfur can be good for some things. Friend has lots in her well. Dogs do not get fleas and ticks from drinking the water. That's interesting. I never heard that. Peterson Farms in Nashville says a 12 gauge. That certainly that helps. And let's see. We got a bunch of folks in here, and I'm going to wait for Tony to come back in here. But he brings up soil, and we didn't do a soil test either. But in Tennessee, Tony's right. You kind of have an idea. You're going to have some rocky areas. You're going to have some pockets where the soil is really good, but you're also going to have some pocket. Oh, well, man, why'd you come back? I was in.
Was it something I said? I mean,
I had all the spotlight, man. All the spotlight. You had to come back in and take shine.
Joe said it this morning. He said, or said a while ago when we first started the show, he goes, I'll take lead on this. And he just kicks me off. He just kicks me. No,
So that's what that button does.
Yeah, he's just technical glitch on my side. I'm sorry.
No, but so we were talking about soil, and I did not do a soil sample either, but I did say Tennessee, we're known for having pretty good soil. It's a little sour, as people call it. You know,
right.
Most of us need lime, but
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, Wade, I was on a roll, brother. Yeah, I almost had to tap you in and get Wade on here, and
yep.
Anyway,
well, go ahead with it. I missed it all. I
was reading Buddy's comment. How many resent that we have to talk seriously about food security, about personal security for us and our families as citizens of the United States? Buddy, there's so much to be confused about right now.
Yeah. God's got this though.
God's got it.
I'm not going to worry about it. You know, it talks about in the Bible about being prepared, like the ants.
Mm-hmm.
Just be an ant. Just keep, just be prepared. And then if nothing else happens, you get to eat freeze-dried beef 10 years from now.
Hey, yeah.
Which I tell you is good. I can't say for sure in 10 years, but
our buddy Nathan says, don't forget you need a sawmill with water after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if a sawmill would be considered prepping, but it sure does. If you can have a fuel source.
He's saying it first. He said you need a sawmill and the water comes after that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that.
And he sent a super chat. Thank you, Nathan.
Hey man, appreciate that. I do appreciate his point of view. I sure do like the sawmill because you can sure build a lot of stuff. But yeah, so the land, soil, the climate. If you're retiring and you're going to buy, if you're retired and you're going to buy land for a homestead to prep, you got to put a lot of thought in it. Like if you're going to live in Arizona, you got to put a lot of thought in it. Yes. I mean, how are you going to collect water? Because you only get rainwater a few times a year, and you've got to collect thousands of gallons of rain. And then on top of that, there are some portions of the state that is restricted. It's restricted to collect rainwater. You literally, the government will not let you collect rainwater. So that plays a role when if you're gonna retire and buy a piece of land. Climate. How about geo? I don't want to disrespect anybody in Memphis, but I don't think I would want to have my land very close to Memphis. Just so you're the politics of the local community. You want to make sure it's stable and crime is down. Well, here we're in our location. I've not locked my garage in 8 years now. I guess over 8 years.
Yeah. If anybody wants Tony's address, let me know. I'm happy to send it to you.
Yeah. Yep. And bless your heart.
Yeah. So bringing up the sawmill, actually, Nathan brings a good point. And I think what we're going to do, and y'all tell me what you think in the comments of this. Tony and I were talking about maybe carrying this on next week into talking a little bit about, maybe we talk about the tools on a homestead, right? So obviously tractors are fantastic and chainsaws, and what are the main tools that you would want? And make this as interactive because we're learning a lot from you guys too. And this has been super helpful, but yeah, that's why you have a pond, collect as much water as a whole. It's like I said, 2 million gallons of water back there. And That gives us
How
a
does that
lot of
work if
peace.
you're in Arizona? I mean, can you have a pond or
I wouldn't honestly. I wouldn't live in Arizona
well, that's
because of that.
when we looked around at retirement, we looked at all different places. We looked at
Mhm,
Texas, we looked at Florida, we looked at North Carolina, Tennessee,
mhm.
and honestly, I came back to what I knew. Uh, I knew in this area you had everything. You had wildlife, you have farmable land. I mean, with an acre of land, you can provide enough, food. You can a lot of food off of just 1 acre of land. Uh,
Yeah.
Squirrels, rabbits. I mean, let's be honest. Times get hard. We're gonna be looking at a lot of different little animals we wouldn't think we wouldn't eat. But squirrels and
I think
rabbits
it's
are squirrels and rabbits are easy.
they are. And how much land is a great question because, you know, you get to the point of diminishing return, I think, with land, unless you're
Sure.
really, really farming,
Right.
like we have over 100 acres. And I can tell you that once you get to that point, you're no longer in the 2515H world of like getting a hobby tractor on 10, 15 acres and having fun and make it manageable. It almost gets to the point where unless you have big machines
Yeah.
and ways to force multiply, then you're in a I mean, you're
We
constantly
don't
by
have the labor we used to have. You used to get your
no.
neighbor's kids. When I grew up, I was farmed out I was a farmhand, and if I wasn't working on our own farm, then I was farmed out to somebody else's hand. I can
Yeah.
remember, or I had a job outside the farm. I, you know, kids don't do that anymore.
No. They
First off, we
don't.
don't.
And
First off, we don't trust. I don't trust. I wouldn't trust to give my kid to someone anymore. Very,
yeah.
it's
Depends
not
on
that.
who it is, but yeah, I mean, a lot of my neighbors, I would trust them, and I would trust obviously you to beat it beat a little bit of hard working into them. But I think the best way to answer that question is look at your local laws because in there's something called the green belt, which I'm not sure if a lot of folks know about that, but if you have 15 or more acres and you generate $1,500 or more per year in income, that can give you significant tax breaks. So for us being in Middle Tennessee, Middle Tennessee it's kind of doing this as far as land prices has gone. We couldn't afford our farm now. And, as that's happened, we are a farm. So we do have the ability to, if you're creating agricultural products, then you do get some discounts there, which makes it so it can actually stay in your family.
Right.
If you have 12, 13 acres, you can't get to that green belt. And that's,
Yep.
that extra 2 acres eventually would probably pay for itself. So it's just something
20
to
acres
consider.
is a great number. 20 to 40 acres, I think, is a great starting point. It's back in the day, we were talking about that. My mom and I were talking about that just the other day. Is back in the day, a farmer, I mean, people would own 5 acres, and 5 acres would support an entire family with very
Mhm.
little, with very little income coming from outside. And back when she was you know, a young girl, she chopped cotton. She tell me stories, but a farm back then, a large farm was 100 acres.
Yeah.
That was a large farm where you had numerous people working for you because that's how labor intensive it is. Well, with today, we have to use, like you said, force multipliers, which are
Mhm.
our equipment. So I think next week we definitely need to talk about the types of equipment we need. And
Yeah,
but
I mean, I can do things in one day because of the equipment that I have
yeah,
I was talking to the guy at the gym the other day. He's telling me he spent the entire weekend, he's getting married, and he spent the entire weekend getting his parents' property ready, his parents' farm together for his wedding in early November. He's like, yeah, man, I was just out there for chainsaw. I was like, what were you cutting? He's like, oh, things like this and that. And I was like, man, if I had that Baumolite mulcher out there, we would have cleared it out in no time. It would have taken 30 minutes. Oh, look at
thank you,
Hank,
man. I
man.
appreciate that. My boy Hank in the house. Appreciate you, guy.
I'm
Um,
glad he's doing okay after the hurricane. All right, so real quick before we move on, I want to talk about something real quick if it's okay with you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So we're talking about acres and the size of your land, and there's something I think a lot of people don't consider that in Tennessee we do. So if you're going to buy, 5 acres of land, like I think it was Kevin has 5 acres of land. So if you have 5 acres of flat land and 5 acres of hilly land, those are two very different things. And what I mean by that is that a lot of folks, and I actually have a little visual aid because I'm not smart enough to explain it. So like if you had this, right, we'll just say that's 1 acre, right? And then, but so that's flatland. So this is where Hank lives in Florida, right? It's just flat as a pancake. Where I live in Tennessee, that acre, that same circumference of the acre, which is basically right here. If you have a hill, think about how much more land you have, even
Actual
though
usable land. Well, not necessarily usable.
but I mean, if it's a rolling hill, you have
Yes.
more land to plant, more
That
land to
looks more
grow
like a
hay.
mountainside to me. I'm just saying.
Listen, okay, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel that makes stuff up as he goes. But the point is if you have rolling hills, you actually have more land. So where I thought about this was when I started thinking about how land lays out for hunting, because I love to hunt. You guys know that.
Right.
And, a property that's flat, you got to Kansas. I mean, it's just flat as a pancake. But when you start
Right.
looking at rolling hills, we have, Lord knows how many acres we have. It is 140 acres, I think, in just on flat paper. But if you go to 3D, it's way over that. So anyway, I just think it's interesting. Yeah, Venn diagrams. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know that you want that. So anyway, just something to consider.
Water. So we said water sources. One thing we did lip out. I think we've talked about it many times. Well, I know we've talked about it many times on the live stream. But having springs, we have a lot of springs on our property, and that was one of the very, very attractive things about this, because again, if you have springs, then you can grow things even when it's a drought. So when everybody else is dependent upon the rain, you're not. And
Right.
again, like for your case, you've got a spring and how many 2 million gallons of water, you said?
Mm-hmm.
How many?
And 2 wells.
And 2 wells. So you're in really good shape. So
we have, I mean, that is a blessing in our property. We have a lot of rocks, which is frustrating, but we have,
but rocks also filters water.
Yeah.
I mean, there's pros and cons, but you've got a lot of soil too, though.
We have some dirt. Yeah.
It just depends. Like there's areas of Tennessee that are horrible. Just, like you go down 2 inches and then it's there. That's it. You got 2 inches of soil, and you've got some actual valleys where you've got some pretty substantial soil.
Oh yeah. I think the hardest part for us is just, if I'm going to put a tiller in it, I just have to realize that a tiller that may last someone else 10, 15 years may last me 6 or 7, and that's fine.
A tiller for us will last us a lifetime. I mean, we just have to replace the tines, but the tiller itself. So other things I was looking at here, moving on to on my list here, is energy sources. And that kind of brings us back to what we were talking about earlier, where we were talking about off-grid solar, even what if you've got enough water to build a hydroelectric, some sort of hydroelectric?
Well, Wheeler Farm is just saying he has no springs, but he has 2 creeks, and that's where you can, if you have a creek that's deep enough, you can try and build some kind of hydroelectric situation to where you may have power that's free forever. Yeah,
you go up to the front of your property where the water comes in, build a levee, and back your water up, and then put it through a pipe. And you can, you don't think about it, but if you're running 500 watts of power, a little generator that's producing 500 watts, but it produces 500 watts year round, 24 hours a day. I mean, you're going to surpass most solar systems that are, 3-4 times bigger. So that's just something to think about. But
and 500 watts, I mean, when we were talking last week about some of the things for morale, like a light bulb now is what, 5 watts?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I talked 3 to 5 watts for like 100 watt equivalent.
Yeah. I mean, you can get a lot of light. And, you may not be running microwaves and blenders and stuff, but, 500 watts is great.
The dreaded coffee maker.
That's right. Well, and Anthony Beverly, which I don't think they're on this week. I haven't seen him in here yet, but, he got the power station. Massimo sent it out to him last week. So he may have it already by now. And he may have just got a power station, just disappeared on us. I mean, come on. You at least come back and say hi.
That's right. You got your power station and left.
That's right.
Fuel access. Now, people think about fuel access. We automatically think of like gasoline or diesel, but also wood. Let's say middle, upper Kentucky, coal. They have coal resources that we just don't have. And it's just like it's laying around on the ground because you have different levels of coal, and some coal is like super hot burning, and some are, mediocre. And then like the mediocre stuff generally is not mine, but if you got a whole bunch of it on your farm, well, guess what? It'll do pretty good. But
So this is going to sound ignorant, but can you filter with coal? That's not the same thing as charcoal, right? I know that sounds stupid. It's a dumb question,
no,
right?
it's not stupid. It's just ignorance.
Hey, yo, I need to step away for a second because I hear my freeze dryer doing its little, blinking sound. That little, it makes this weird little chirping sound when it's done.
Yeah.
And I don't want everyone here to have to hear that for, the next however long we're on here. So I'll be back in 2
All right. All right. So we'll keep on walking down my list here. And we've touched on all of this before, but I was talking about food production potential. If you're going to look for land, it needs to be, you need to be able to have produce some food, whether it be, now it could be wildlife. You could keep it all in woods and have wildlife. Acorns are edible. Walnuts are edible. Several different types of nuts in the forest are edible. And let's see here. I think he's back. He's back. So when we say does it have food potential, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is farming or gardening. It could be deer. For Joe, for an example, he really cultivates his deer population by providing minerals and growth hormone. Wait, I'm sorry, that's not true. That's not true. Not the growth hormones. Yeti, I hear you, buddy. But anyway,
don't worry about the Yeti. You just worry about those antlers.
I know it.
What is that?
So,
that would be it's like a 9
So
point.
that's one of the things you have to think about too, is not just will it grow, there's a trade-off there. If you can grow, if you can raise your own cattle, or goats or small animals, or do you just maximize the wildlife in your area and live off of that? Because again, we talk about, squirrels, rabbits, deer, depending on where you're at in the country, there's so many things. I mean, I've heard of people eating possums. I don't know if I'd eat a possum or not. Fish.
We're hungry enough.
You eat your possum, man? Tell me the truth. You ever eat a possum?
I've not eaten a possum.
I can't swear that
I've eaten a bunch. I've eaten a bunch of fish from our pond.
Oh yeah, I can't swear that I've not eat possum. My sister, if she's still on here, she might chime in on that one. I remember going coon hunting, and I know people who eat coon too. Back in the day.
I've had people tell me raccoon is absolutely phenomenal.
I don't know.
I haven't eaten them, but
I've eaten alligator. I've eaten snake. I've eaten, fish, obviously. Squirrel, rabbit.
What about beaver tail? Beaver tail is supposed to be phenomenal too.
I would. It's all muscle. It makes sense, really, if you think about it.
Real quick, DIY truth hurts. I don't understand what you mean by tax land. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm not sure what that means.
Well,
do you mean but land that's been reclaimed by the government and then they're selling it for a tax lien? Is that what you mean?
Well, I think what he means is, I could be wrong. He'll correct us here. But when I was talking earlier, remember before the show started, we talked about buying land, and we're thinking about homesteading and prepping and what the land's going to be good for in a case of bad situation. But also you got to think about, until that happens, you still got to pay your taxes. So it's really important when you start thinking about buying land is where you buy that land. Okay. Does it have income tax? Do you have property tax? How high is your property tax? Like in West Tennessee, for example, our property taxes are dramatically lower than around the rest of the country. Can't speak to Middle Tennessee. You'll have to speak to that.
It's the same Tennessee. It's not expensive.
Yeah. Comparatively,
it is.
We pay for 1 year what some places pay for 1 month. Just to put it in. Possum is a survival food. Beaver bag straps are good.
All right, so DIY truth hurts. So this is my answer to this question real quick. So buying land the county is taken back due to not paying taxes. One of the things on my list is neighbors, right? Tony's already talked about neighbors that he has that are fantastic, and we have neighbors that are fantastic.
Right.
And if you have a piece of land that is quality land that someone's not willing, who's one of the neighbors there that's not willing to pay the tax lien on it just to get that land, which would be dirt cheap, pennies on the dollar probably,
right,
you really have to think of who your neighbors are, because you can go into a great neighbor situation, you can go into a nightmare. So I would say if you find a great deal, yeah, why not? I mean, absolutely. If you can get a piece of land that makes sense, then go for it. Especially if the county, go to the county seat, talk to them, ask them, talk to the sheriff. That's usually a small town sheriff's gonna be happy to talk to you. Talk to the fire department. Say, hey, have you ever had any issues around here? Have you ever had to pull a crackhead out of out of the woods? I don't know, but I mean, I think that is going to be the most economical way of doing it, but it's also probably going to be one you're going to have to do a lot of legwork, a lot of homework. But yeah, I would absolutely buy a piece of land if one of my neighbors got into trouble and they, God forbid, lost their land because of a tax lien. I could say one of us would be trying to purchase that land to control who our neighbors are, as opposed to the county even,
That's one. I mean, we bought our land next to us. It wasn't tax lien or anything, but our neighbor was going to sell it.
Yeah.
And, we didn't want anybody living next to us. So it was, she offered it to us first. Hey, I got a good portion of this, a good subject matter. So buildings and shelter. So when we bought our land, it was raw land. And we looked at other lands that had already had like some barns on them. Some of them had houses on them. And I want to tell you right now, yes, we are getting to shape our land exactly the way we want it. However, it is way harder to reclaim land or to make it usable than I anticipated. You got to have equipment, time, muscle, and some muscle, and a little bit more muscle. Having
money.
And money. If you want to,
as we all know, when you were building that barn, we know what building materials we're doing while you were building that barn and putting that property together.
Our barn went over double, just the post and the roof, and post and roof. That's all we got up. It's just post and roof on the pole barn. It doubled from the time we started or time we planned it to the actual. COVID slowed us down, and then after COVID, the price of that barn cost twice as much as what we thought it was going to. And that's why
I noticed when lumber went up, Tony got a sawmill. It was that graph is very, very clear. So
I'm telling you, we're getting ready to get really down and dirty with the sawmill. I'm moving some stuff around on the sawmill right now. I'm moving the bunks around where they kind of make better sense with all the hydraulics. And but once I get that done, we're gonna be really cranking out some. We're going to do board and batten on the pole barn. So yeah,
nice.
But I thought that was a good point. If you're going to buy land, we went into it with a lot of gung ho and a lot of I can do it, and not
Anthony. There he is.
He won the power supply last week, the solar generator.
Power station. Yeah. I've actually got one right here. Well, this is a 500. Anthony, have you gotten yours yet? I know it was shipped out last week. This is a 500. We sent Anthony a 300. The 300 is actually attached to another computer somewhere around here. I love these things. Like I said, man, these are fantastic. But something also to consider that when you're talking about the structures is fencing, because we are about to go into a massive fencing project. Because we bought our property, a lot of the fencing was there, and it's older. Right. Everything on our farm is old. But it is very expensive, which is why we had a lake issue, which kind of set us back a little bit on the fencing. But when you talk about barns and cover, which is really the most important thing, I actually have that on my list too. It doesn't have to be a beautiful, wedding venue barn, seems to be like the new thing now on television.
Well, you need to have to talk with my wife yet, because that ain't
what she's doing. I'm not doing it. I know better, buddy. You're going to lose that battle. I'm going to enjoy watching the video. Yeah. But getting cover for your machines, man, your greenhouse is legit. And if y'all haven't seen Tony's series on that, this is the part where I would say, if you're not subscribed to Tony's channel, y'all need to subscribe to his channel and watch that greenhouse series, because Tony's great with building a lot of stuff. But aside from the bougie greenhouse that he has, your machines have to be undercover. I see folks all the time, with open station tractors. You can get away with the cab tractor sometimes, but an open station tractor laying out in the middle of a field, as they say, whether you buy the barn or not, you pay for it.
So if you don't have a barn, you got to use the barn correctly too. Because I was looking the other day, and I have my grill under the barn, and a $15,000 piece of implement sitting outside in the rain. Like, that really, if you really think about it, that don't make no sense. But
and a lot of these things are built to be, they're built to be in the weather and the dirt. Like, I'm not trying to say that these things are.
It was a Bombolite mulcher. It's solid steel. I mean,
that thing's a boat anchor, man. That thing's
pretty much
outlive us. But the thing is also is that everyone thinks it's for rain. It's not for rain. It's for sun. Sun will cause issues that will absolutely. Why is it going to double by Friday?
A hurricane hitting Florida. It always does.
Oh yeah.
So every time a hurricane hits, that wood goes through the roof. But
yeah, Jeff makes a good point too. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with this stuff. Rust has no mercy. So fluid film, if anyone's familiar with this, it was actually designed by the United States Navy to keep their equipment from rusting that's out in the elements. And fluid film is like, it's just what it says. You spray it on and it's like a tacky, WD-40 would run down your machine. And some people used to put like diesel fuel and all kinds of stuff on machines, but this stuff is you spray it on there, and I do it towards the end of the season. So pretty soon I'll go out there, I'll take my box blade, spray it down with fluid film, and it keeps the water from penetrating and getting to the metal. So a couple cans of that can really save you some money. A lot of folks up north will put it under their cars, but anyway.
Keep talking, man. I'm looking at the hurricane prep.
So Wayne, are you asking me fence wood or composite for fencing, or is that just OSB? Because OSB would just be wood, right? That's just compressed manufactured wood.
Yeah. Or I can't say oriented strand board.
Fair enough.
There you go.
And I'll be honest, I would be really interested in possibly using some of the stuff that you use. What's it called? That chemical for fencing?
Oh, Fast 2K. I love Fast 2K. I get so much grief over Fast 2K, and it's gonna fall out. It's going to never work. We've been using it for 2 years and never had a failure. And
well, my favorite is when people tell you that wood's gonna rot. It's like, well, if the wood was still on the tree, it would have rotted eventually.
Well, the thing is I know we're getting off subject here, but with Fast 2K, it literally goes around the wood, penetrates the wood with a foam, almost like a latex foam, and then waterproofs the wood. So water and air can't get to the wood. As long as there's no air or water getting to the wood, it can't rot. So the first post that we put down, we've had no signs of rot whatsoever. I mean, and like some of our stuff's coming up on 3 years. You'd already start. Normally you would start seeing in concrete around the edges, right around where the concrete meets and the post meets. You start seeing some deterioration. Yeah. We don't have that. So I'm a big believer, and we've, our neighbor down the road, we had some really strong winds. Had like 80 miles. I think it was 88 miles an hour wind. It came through. He had posts in the ground with a fence, and they were in concrete. It pulled them out of the ground. All of my fence, pole barn, the greenhouse, the solar panels, those things are giant sails.
Yeah.
They're all still there. I've never had a failure. So I'm a big believer in, it's expensive, but Fast 2K it's legit. That's why we put our cabin, for one or two reasons, is that we got a lot of springs in that area. So I wanted the cabin off the ground, but I wanted to use all those posts as high flotation. So, like, so many people beat me up like, you put too many posts, or that's never going to last. You know what? That dude is rock solid. I love it when they tell me it's never going to, it's going to fall down, but it's already been up for 2 years. It's just, I happened to re-put out a video of something that was 2 years ago. And my road video, like that road will never last. Like, dude, that road was put in 5 years ago.
I know. It's like Mike Morgan says from Outdoors and Mortgage. He said they should call it, you should, instead of YouTube.
That's right.
Well, there are a lot of folks know what fluid film is. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So, Wayne, do you put, or Buddy, you put your fluid film on your leather boots? I didn't know you could do that. Makes sense though. I mean,
so anyway,
this stuff's great.
I'm gonna go back one more on this building and shelter things. So when we bought our land it was subdivided, and basically it's almost a failed subdivision because they subdivided almost 30 years ago.
So it was
And
it was all in different lots and stuff. You mean?
yeah, like 8, but they're huge lots, like 8 acres. You know, the 8 to 10 acre lots. So it's not, it's not like a traditional subdivision. They're giant lots. Well, anyway, there was a covenant, and so when we bought our property, we had to make a determination about the covenant. There was 3 years left on the covenant that you couldn't do anything. Like you couldn't put a, no one's going to put a trailer house back there. It's just, not against trailer houses. It's just, it does depreciate the value. And you can't have 32 broken cars in the front yard. Nobody's going to do that anyway, because it's a nice neighborhood and we got nice neighbors. But those are the kind of things there was a lot of building restrictions. Right. That's when we first, so the first 3 years we had that property, we basically didn't do a lot because we had to wait for the covenant to, now we can have chickens. Before we couldn't have chickens. You could only have horses, could not have, that's the only thing you'd have. You have equine. That was it. That's like, I thought about that too. Cause like when they said equine, I'm like, they ain't never heard a donkey because a donkey's loud. That's what I do. I get a donkey. Whole neighborhood be hating me.
Donkeys, man, they're tough.
Oh yeah. Well, they're good to have. They're good for your, like you got sheep or goats. They're very protective.
Buddy, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. You can put fluid film. It's made out of lanolin, which I guess I should know that. But yeah, that's cool. It's always good to see something else, something to be used for. But something we haven't talked about is perking, right? So if you want to buy
perking tips,
perking, being perky. If you want to buy a piece of property and, you say you find one at a tax sale, like we were talking about earlier, or someone has a piece of property that they're trying to sell you, or, like you said, you bought a piece of land from a neighbor, perking is where, I'm sure a lot of folks here know this, so I'm not trying to sound condescending or anything or go over stuff we already know.
Pretend I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so perking is just how can you put a septic on your soil? Because a lot of us that have septic systems, that septic, line has to run out there, and basically all the stuff that goes down the commode has to soak into that leach line. And if that soil won't let it soak in and just sits there, well,
it has to evaporate up.
Right, and I don't understand all of it, so y'all don't beat me up about saying I'm ignorant, because I think we already know I'm ignorant, but you have to have a perk test done, and if it will perk, well, that makes it, once that perk test is in your hand. Well, yeah, once that perk test is in your hand, though, that land has just gone up dramatically in value.
Absolutely. So here's the thing, to add on to that: if it doesn't pass the perk test, you can still have a septic system, but it's going to have to be a very elaborate, expensive septic. It went from a $4,000, $5,000 septic system to a $25,000, $40,000 septic system,
and it'd be very, very long and take up a lot of your land.
Yeah, well, they have above ground, and you dig out and bring in other soil, which is expensive. I mean, it literally can change. When you're looking at ground, and if you pretty much everybody's land around us perks here in West Tennessee. We got good soil, it perks, and if you don't really know how the septic system works, the water flows downhill. It does every time.
Were you about to say something goes downhill?
Yeah,
it's a family show, Tony.
I decided, but the water goes downhill, and then a lot of people think that the water soaks into the ground. It does not. It actually evaporates up. So it's very, very important that the soil above your leach field allows for the moisture to rise up and evaporate through. And if you have really, really green grass, then it's working.
What if you have really dark brown grass?
You might need to change your diet.
Been that Mexican joint too much.
No, don't pee in the pool.
Yeah, so you brought up a couple of things, like you brought up climate earlier, zoning laws, which also feeds into what we were talking about earlier about what you can and cannot do with the land legally. Building structures we've talked about.
Tennessee's very free.
It is. Tennessee's pretty easy. We've talked about some things like something to consider also, those proximity to resources. Like, I have a beautiful woman who lives with me, and she loves the farm, if not as much, if not more than I do. That woman loves our farm. Like, she's through and through.
Place too.
Well, it's beautiful, but if there wasn't a grocery store or other things around, I don't know that she would be able to be there. I think that we would have a hard time really calling it home because there's other things she wants, and being close to other things like it's pretty amazing. Sometimes you sit out there and there's no light pollution like there is, in the downtown area of Nashville, and we look up, we see billions of stars, and we're within 20 minutes of a grocery store, which is great. Some folks, if you live real rural, you may be, I had somebody not too long ago. We do a lot of side by side reviews and stuff, and one of them was like, it was like Tractor Supply side by side. So she said, "We're getting a Tractor Supply. We're so excited!" Like they were fired up that they were getting a neighborhood Tractor Supply.
What are you talking about? We're so proud of our Tractor Supply.
I mean, Tractor.
I remember when we got
great
Walmart.
Store.
I remember we got Walmart. We thought we were somebody when Walmart moved in.
Man, something about being in the country though, they put those super Walmarts in, and I'm telling you, I get dizzy in those things. Like it's so bright and the ceiling's so high and everything's white, and I just kind of get disoriented. I mean,
how many people avoid Walmart? Yeah, you make a comment. Let us know if you avoid Walmart. I counted it last year. I went to Walmart 6 times, and probably 3 of those I was forced to.
Can I ask you why?
I just don't like. I don't want to say this in front of everybody, man. I don't like people.
Well, I think that's okay. I didn't know if there was like a political reason or something else.
I always have this saying: you can reason with an individual, but you can't reason with a crowd.
Right.
And you see some people are so rude, and I don't know, just it doesn't bring out my best qualities. Just to say that.
Something we didn't bring up.
Let's bring it up.
Let's talk about services on a piece of property, right? So we want to be self-sufficient on a homestead. You want to be able to have that land take care of you, and as you take care of it. But also, if what about some simple stuff like waste management? Do you have trash service? We don't, but we have a convenience center right down the road, so you can go take our trash there. Our taxes help pay for that. You can take a whole truckload per day. And the other thing would be like communication. Do you have phone lines? Do you have internet? A lot of folks now, ourselves included, we have been included in this fiber internet. So, our internet at the farm is great. It's very,
baby.
Very good.
Starlink. Starlink.
Starlink is, I haven't tried it. I've heard it's fantastic.
Hank has it.
We haven't had to try it.
Yeah. Well, if you have it out at the farm, we're going to have to do Starlink because I think there's dial-up or DSL.
DSL is pretty popular, and Dish and stuff like that.
Well, the DSL up there is like 1.2.
Uno.
yeah, like 1.2. And we're like here at the house, we're like, I don't know, 800, 800 megabits per second. And I say that like I know what it means, but it sounds good. But
yeah.
Let's
see, how far from a hospital? Kevin's got a great point, man. How far from a hospital?
Good point right there. That is
huge, man, because
he always puts the best stuff up.
He really does, man. Like
the rest of you guys better step up. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Chad avoids Walmart at all costs. Kevin's wife works at Target, so Walmart's a no-no. Vance, he goes once a month. Rural King, just wish it wasn't 50 miles from the farm. Rural King is supposedly beautiful. So I've never been to one.
Oh, you ain't lived, dude. It's like a country boys Walmart. You buy bullets and guns, and like Walmart's got them all locked up, right? You walk in there and you just buy them right off the shelf. You walk in, put them in your cart, and drive away. Yeah, it's great. Love it.
Wade saying 8 million kilobytes per second?
Yeah,
kilobytes. Nice.
Yeah, he knows I have no idea what he's talking about.
He's taking the megabytes, I think, and just breaking it down to making it look bigger. He's one of those intelligent guys, man. He really is. He reads and everything.
Cerebral, is that how you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Wild edibles, timber, stone, herbs, medicine plants. My wife loves that stuff. She's into herbs, like making like tinctures and stuff. And I'm her guinea pig a lot of times. I'm telling you, some of this stuff tastes horrible.
How many ears have you grown?
Huh?
How many ears have you grown? Do you have extra ears anywhere in that head, or?
No, I can't hear them.
The tincture. Yeah. What?
I always make fun of her. Say, you just want the tincture because it's got vodka in it. She don't drink. She's like, you just like that little eyedropper, like one eyedrop.
Yeah.
You're like you're 12. What's up with that?
just for the cataracts.
It's the cataracts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so those are, and Kevin, thank you. You're exactly right, man. Being close to a hospital, being close to a dentist, being close to, I remember, if you all watch our channel, which I hope you do, Joe the Farmer. If you don't,
Joe the
subscribe.
Farmer.
Love to have you. Love to have you
Go
come along.
subscribe.
My neighbor Guido, who I love it. He's like one of my best friends. He's 71 years old. I love him like he's my brother, like much older brother or something. But I was over helping him do something, and I'm telling you, I was wearing, people give me a hard time because I wear tennis shoes sometimes, but it's like,
I thought
no one knows
what you man.
Well, nobody gives me a hard time about that. That's on the After Dark OnlyFans though. So
only fan.
But anyway, I was wearing tennis shoes because I'm just moving around, and you try to get exercise while you're moving too. I didn't need heavy work boots with steel toe construction on them. Actually, maybe I did that day, but I stepped on a nail, and I'm telling you, it was like from Home Alone where his foot goes on there, the nail just goes right through it. Rusty nail. So I just looked at Guido and I said, Guido, I think I need to go. I need to go get a tetanus shot because I haven't had one in a long time.
Right.
So there was a Walgreens within like 15 minutes of us. Went down there, got the tetanus and whatever the other stuff that's in there, and that was huge because I didn't have to go like 2 hours to a hospital or doing that stuff. Like I just went to the Walgreens and it was super handy. So
I just threw out Joel's YouTube channel. If you guys have not subscribed to his channel, please do. He's a good dude. Otherwise, I'd kick him off here. What?
Sneakers, you're not playing tennis. Maybe I am, Joe. That's my buddy Joe from North Carolina. He's a good guy, man. He's doing okay.
Is he get hit or
I don't know, Joe, are you doing okay from the hurricane, bud? He lives real close to Josh, Stony Ridge Farmer. I was at Josh's, and that's where I actually met Joe.
I'm not saying anything if Josh got hit or not.
I don't think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to tell us, Joe, if you got hit by the hurricane. I hope you're doing okay, man.
So I got a few more things here, and I'm running out of subject matter on land. We've talked about a lot of things. We talked about. I do want to point out though that again, I keep coming back to that because it was such I had no idea. Like I said, I had a whole lot of I want to, and a whole lot of ambition, and we see this raw land, and we can make it any way we want it. I don't know now. If I bought land again, that I wouldn't have started out with at least some old barns on the property, because I mean, just scratching it out, every little piece of land is tough.
Yeah.
Now we wouldn't change anything. We've got so much work into it. We wouldn't change anything. We see it. We see the future. We kind of, it's coming together. See the light in the tunnel. But if I had to start over again today with what I know now, I'm pretty sure I would probably buy land with some outbuildings, maybe even a house that could be easily renovated for livability until you could sell it. Like right now, we need to sell this house so we can move to the farm, and then we need to move to the farm so we can sell this house because we're living in this house here and we want to move to the farm, but then we got nowhere to move. If we had like an old farmhouse we cleaned up and could just move into it real fast, then that would make things go so much faster because we're working 12 miles away. Every time we go to the farm, it's 12 miles over, 12 miles back, 12 miles over, 12 miles. That adds up quick, especially when you forget your keys. I'm not saying I've done that, but you've done it too.
I've been on the phone with you when you've forgotten keys.
Like, I forgot my keys. Get over to run the tractor. Don't have no tractor key.
I think you bring up a great point, man, because like our farm is a prime example of where we have a lot of infrastructure, but a lot of it's aging. However, I have a hay barn where I haven't fixed that roof yet because I think what I'm going to do is the hay barn. If you guys watch the channel, I've got a blind in there and I've got my batwing mower and stuff in there, which is that hay barn has cover and it's keeping stuff out of the elements and it's keeping the sun off of it and it's keeping the rain off of it. But it's also aging. Someone had gone in there before we bought that property and they had cleared it, or not cleared, but they graded it. They put all those posts in there. So all I really need to do is find someone who wants a small job. From watching Nathan's channel when he had that barn built, I need somebody who just wants to come out there and reskin the thing and put some doors on it, right? That's a lot less of an undertaking than, to your point, going out there, finding the spot, grading it, get all the posts in. I mean, it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. And fortunately for things like metal sheeting, it's expensive, but it
Mhm.
also doesn't fluctuate nearly as much as lumber does.
That's a fact.
Yeah, if you have the lumber framing, it should be, it should be pretty easy. So anyway,
So I want to talk about one more thing. I know we're coming up against our break here, I guess you will, or coming up against our end of our
yeah,
show.
we also need to give the hat away too.
Oh yeah, so let's do that real quick, and I'll come back to this. Okay, TYM
Okay.
hat. If you haven't put in there, it's hashtag TYM hat, all lowercase. I think it'll work if it's big case too, but capitalized. But it's all lowercase the way I put it in there. So hashtag TYM hat. And
Yeah, buddy, I do have a couple hunting blinds out there, brother.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
even got some things out there that I don't show on camera.
yeah,
So
so we'll go ahead
it's
and
all
let
legal
me,
though.
all right, while you're talking, I'm going to get this set up here. Present. All right, share screen. Make sure we share the right one.
By the way, I just
show
I put a
Joe's
link to
OnlyFans
that.
page.
I just put a link to I said earlier that I would put a link to the Amazon store where I had a bunch of the things from last week, but I never pushed enter. So there you go. There's enter.
All right, here we go. We'll throw draw. Everybody got it? TYM hat.
I don't think I did it.
Well, you can't win anyway.
I
It's
know,
still kind of fun though. All right, here we go.
Wait, I'll let you answer that question, buddy.
What's that?
He said legal or lethal. Honestly, God, truth, man, I don't break the law. I don't play games like that. Peterson Farms, man. There you go.
Farms in Nashville. He gets him a TYM hat. Hey, man,
that is not a Tennessee Nashville either, though.
Is it not? I don't know. It says Farm of Nashville. Where's it at?
I think he's in Illinois. Is that right?
I mean, I've been through there, I think, at some point. Anyway, well, do me a favor. Go on to Tony'sTractorAdventure.com. Go to the contact page. At the contact page, just put in there, hey, who you are, and you won the TYM hat tonight, and I'll get that shipped out to you ASAP. I'm glad you don't live in Australia, because I forgot to say we're not shipping it to Australia. I'm not paying $70 to ship a hat to Australia.
Yeah. $20 hat, $70 to ship it. You're like, man, this show just cost me a bunch of money. There wasn't 2 super chats though, so maybe that'll offset some shipping for you.
Yeah, that offset. Thank you, Nathan and Hank, for the super chats.
I don't know if they went to you or me. Let me see real quick.
I know Hank loves me more, so it went to me. For sure, Nathan loves me more too.
I don't know.
Well,
either way, hey.
Somebody needs to. Yeah, it went to me.
I think Nathan's
no.
Me.
Nathan went to you.
Thank you, Nathan. You're way better of a guy than Hank.
Yeah, that's right.
$4.99 towards that pond repair, buddy. I'll take it. We are.
Yeah, listen. How bad that gonna hurt you? The pond repair?
Oh my gosh.
You don't want to talk about it too soon?
I don't. What are you gonna do though?
Yeah,
it's Indiana. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Nashville, Indiana. I think that's
what I was going to say is Nashville, Indiana, but you said Illinois. I think there is a Nashville, Illinois too.
Well, I was talking to my buddy Capper from Capper Outdoors, and that had me have Illinois in my mind, and he's moved out of Illinois, and he's in Missouri now, and has a heck of a spread there. So
love it.
Let
me jump back to our subject matter at hand. And we were talking about land and the whole subject. We went all over the place tonight, as we always do. But
sorry, guys. I mean,
it's all Joe's fault.
Sorry. Yeah. I see a squirrel and I go with it.
So talking about our land is buying land that is going to be useful as a homestead and also as a way of prepping, if you will, right? Security and defensibility. And I know that's a touchy subject, but it's one of the things I put on my list here is if you're thinking about that, if you're thinking about a homestead, which is basically your prepper, you just renaming it a little bit, is you got to be thinking about it in the back of your mind. Is it how are you going to secure it? And is it defensible? I know that's getting over into the weeds, but something you think about. Like we have our neighborhood has a lot of good people. We all kind of talk with each other. What would happen? You got to have neighbors. You can't do it by yourself. There's no way.
Nor would you want to.
No, you would burn out too quick. You can't stay awake 24 hours a day. All the bad people have to do is just wait till you get tired.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Don't let me hang, man. You got quiet on me. He's like, I don't want to talk about this.
No, I was listening. I'm just listening because there's things that I feel very passionate about, and there's things that I like to listen on, and I think
Privacy.
you hit the nail on the head when it's you can't do it alone. I think that there's a big contingent of people that think like, if times get tough, or when we talk about preparing doesn't always mean like the dollar collapses or some government blah blah blah. Your catastrophe and your thing you need to prep for it may be a job loss. It may be someone got sick and got better, but you ran through your entire savings for paying for medical bills. That may be your apocalypse, your catastrophe. So when you're preparing for these things, those are the things that I think that need to be considered as well as everything else. And everyone that thinks that I'll just go out there and do it myself. First of all, it's boring. You don't want to do things by yourself. Second of all, you're going to need people to work with you. You're going to need a community of folks that can help you, right?
You absolutely have to have extra people. Back in the day, we think about the settlers of the old, back in the West. We're selling the West, right? Yeah. There was a reason they had 20 kids. That was their labor. That was their workforce. They.
Well, look at the Amish. The Amish they'll go in there 200 deep and build a barn in 2 hours. Right. Because they know many hands make light work. That's right. That's the thing. And when you're preparing yourself and your family, that's what we talked a little bit last week about, is like, make sure that you're considering the fact that you may have a family member who hasn't prepared, or friends who need a place to stay. And they say, hey, listen, like, let me help out with some of the chores and some of the work around here. If I could sleep here and, you have some extra food for me, like, make that investment. It's worth it.
Absolutely.
And Vance and Wade said I should do some videos with Dirt Perfect on our pond. Can't afford Dirt Perfect. And Vance said, damn it, pond sealer. We didn't have a leak. We have a standpipe. Talked about it before, and it's on our channel if you want to watch that video. But long story short, there's a metal pipe that goes up that was a drain. That drain has rusted out. So we have sealed off that drain. It no longer takes water, and built the spillway off the back. So it's a permanent long-term fix forever.
He's my kind of man right here. I'm telling you. Set your new fence, put trip wiring.
Yeah, he's not playing. Yeah, Wade said he's burying tannerite all over the farm. Dale Capper he has 2 channels. He has his main one, and then he has his 2.0 channel, and both of them he's like, it's Capper. Get off my lawn. There's a coyote working today. I love him, man. He's just a grumpy old Marine, man. He's exactly in person as you see.
He is.
Yeah, he was at my farm one time, and we're just sitting there talking. He's like, "What do you got? Steaks?" I was like, "We got pork chops." I drove all the way here for pork chops. This is him, man. I love the guy.
Love it. So, security and defensibility, privacy is one thing. Like I said, our property is way off the beat path. 7 people live on the road. There's no reason to be on the road unless you live there. Not saying you can't be there. It's a county road, but just saying you got to go out of your way to come there.
Yeah.
And then let's just talk about a natural disaster. Like right now, East Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, looting. It's a thing, right? It's a thing. So perimeter control, keeping people off your property. Again, that's where you're gonna have to work with your neighbors. You're not gonna the normal rules will not apply. And then have an escape route. What happens when truckload of people show up at your house and it's just you and your wife and your kid? You don't engage that. You leave.
Yeah.
That's just not smart to engage a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Line of sight. Obviously, you want to be able to see them coming, and you need to have a deer viewing lane
and something that can reach out and touch someone.
Yeah. Well,
Kevin's got a great point too, man. Have faith in yourself and in God. If you don't,
that's what it's all
faith
about.
in yourself for what you do, you'll not be prepared. And the truth is, as believers in Christ, this is not our only rodeo. And if you're prepared with a bunch of food and guns and stuff, and your heart is not right,
it's a short trip, isn't it?
It's a real short trip, man, and it's a lonely
trip to nowhere.
Yeah, and trust me, I may seem like a bleeding heart pushover, but if someone were to let's just say I'm prepared. I'm not, my heart is right, but I want to help people, but I'm not going to be it's gonna be hard to overtake what we have. We'll put it that way. I don't like to I mean, none of us want to really talk
I
about
think
that
that's
stuff.
the
I mean,
majority of the people that watch our channel. They're decent people that don't go out of their way to look to harm anyone else, but are prepared to not let someone harm them as well or their family. I think the more we do these channels and talk to people, I think that's a much bigger swath of the United States than the mainstream media and the mainstream, would have you think. I think there's a lot of really good people out there. I still think the United States is a good country, and I think it's a good place. We've got our problems, but man, I've been around the world, seen a lot of crazy stuff, and we don't have near the troubles that other places do.
And I think some of that is a moral fabric of what someone made a comment earlier about, in God, or God was one of our founding principles. I mean, morality is a founding principle of this country, and as that erodes, it gets a little bit disconcerting.
Sure.
But I think you just have to keep things in perspective and realize that
I don't think it's as bad as it. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's as bad as we perceive it to be. I think the devil wants it to look worse than it really is. Because I come out here and talk to people. We go to shows all over the United States, talk to people all over the United States, and I just not run into that mass of people that are just mean. I understand. They're probably.
Well, you're a big celebrity though, too. So I mean, that let's be honest, people get a little starstruck. They see Tony.
Get recognized at the IGA now. I mean, once you get recognized at the IGA, you got to change how you live. Got to have security and all that stuff.
Well, they had your picture up there for your credit card not going through or something. Are you Tony?
Bad checks, Tony. Man. Bad checks, man. That's what it is.
Check. How could it be out of money? Look at all the checks I have left.
Yeah. When's the last time you wrote a check, man? It's been a long time for me. I bought gravel.
I just wrote a massive check to fix my bleep lake. So I just wrote a check the other day. But you know what? Michael, who fixed it, he was a godsend.
Yeah,
he actually watches the channel, and he did a heck of a job. He is a talented man, and there's not a chance I was going to try and talk him down or anything. He was very fair. It was very expensive, but he was very fair. And guess what? If you want to have the best of the best working on something, it's not going to be cheap. And I'm confident that I probably won't ever have to call him again to touch anything up or fix anything. I mean, he did a great job. So,
well, I think that's going to probably have to wrap this show up. But let's talk about next week's show. We're going to talk about equipment that we need for Homestead. Maybe not.
Yeah, I think what we do is I think we talk about some of the things that we've used. We talk tractors a lot, right? I think we should hit tractors. What do we use it for? Like attachments, I think would be helpful, but also like what are some of the ancillary things that we use that are very helpful? Like for me, I have a vent track. Ancillary, you have a dictionary on your. It's
your $10 word on a $4 boy.
So hey Siri, what does ancillary mean? But no, for real,
you hear that?
Yeah, but I have no. You think I have Siri listening to me? Nope. But I have a vent track, which is a very unique piece of equipment, and I think stuff like that. Just talking through, what do we use and how does it help us, and what do we think maybe we can get rid of? I have one machine. I'll tell you guys right now. We'll talk about it next week. I have one machine that I'm kind of torn on whether I should sell it or not, and
we'll keep it secret until next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week.
That's not fair, man. I've been wondering all week.
I've been thinking a lot about it. And I'm like, oh man, like what do I do? But
yeah, you're not selling the mini bike, are you?
Maybe that's it.
Oh, that mini bike's too cool, man. Love that thing.
It's awesome. The mini bike's not going anywhere.
You got an electric mini bike that do like 30 miles an hour.
Y'all, if you get like Tractor Supply's got those little they've got those little Greenworks mini bikes. And I'm telling you guys,
I had a blast
right now. That is the coolest little tool. Like it's got a Bluetooth speaker. They are a blast. So we did a partnership with Greenworks. I didn't pay for it. I did a couple of videos on it, but all I'm saying is that it's like $1,000 and it is you'll have so much fun on that thing.
Yeah, I tried to get it in my.
Oh,
back of my
we've got
truck.
some guesses now. The golf cart, sell the orange tractor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's some things.
All
That
right. Well, let's wrap this thing up, man. I've got to get ready for a big day tomorrow, and I appreciate it. Hey, so next week we're going to talk about things for the farm, equipment, ancillary things. I'm going to look that up. I know I'll have an answer for you next week what ancillary means. But we'll talk about that next week. And if something happens where we don't come on next week, it's because I'm going to the Equipment Ag Expo, and I may have trouble with internet. So if for some reason we'll schedule it, and we're going to do. I'm 99% sure we won't have any problems. But if we do have a problem, it's because I will be at the farm show, living in a hotel for a week. So
hotels have internet, Tony. Don't give us this.
I'm just saying at 7 o'clock at night, their internet sucks. Last year we were there and it was.
You lost internet tonight.
Well, I mean, I had to go back in real quick and pay for it. Yeah.
Put another quarter in.
Turn it back on, put another quarter in, man.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, love you guys. Appreciate you. May God bless you. You guys pray for those people down in Florida. They're gonna be hammered. Yeah. I had 2 weeks out with COVID. It was rough couple weeks right there. Listen, guys, love you. Got anything else, Joe?
Nope. Appreciate y'all checking back in, and can't wait to see you next week.
God bless y'all. Boom. End.